I don't think there's anything in that moment that I can really say to calm him down. You know what? The reality is he's going to get suspended. We don't know how long, and that hurts our team. And we can't do that. We can't continue to hurt this team. It's inexcusable.
We've got 5 seconds to go in the game, the biggest game that this team's won, and I'll never beat Baltimore and Pittsburgh in the same year since they've been in 1999. And then we've got to talk about this. So there's 52 other guys in that team, on the team, that hurt, and it's going to hurt moving forward. So we don't condone that, and it's not going to. Myles understands what he did wrong. All right, he's got to maintain his composure.
You're right, Freddie. Nobody's talking about anybody else on the Browns right now. This is the story, and it's an unfortunate end to that game. Ian Rappaport joining us now this morning. What can you tell us about the repercussions for what transpired last night?
Well, Baker Mayfield, who said in his on-field interview with Aaron Andrews that Myles Garrett is going to be suspended, sounds like Baker is going to end up being right. My understanding is the NFL is reviewing Myles Garrett's actions for a possible suspension, likely a multi-game suspension for Myles Garrett for taking the helmet off of Mason Rudolph, hitting him with it, and everything else that we have seen on this video. And when we look at past events, similar events where a player has been suspended for on-field actions, usually those come the morning after the game, so we should have some news from the NFL earlier today. And obviously, there's some other actions of some other players that are being reviewed, but clearly Myles Garrett is the one to consider. And if you want to know some past incidents that may have some reason for a comparison, Albert Haynesworth, who stomped on Andre Giroud's head, ended up getting suspended 5 games. That is the only comparable one that comes to mind. Wouldn't be surprised if Myles Garrett ends up getting suspended a similar time frame or maybe even more. And by the way, Kay, there was some interesting comments from Mason Rudolph's agent, Tim Younger, who essentially said this is not a risk a quarterback should take, having a defensive end take your helmet off and hit him with it. He said it could have had a catastrophic ending, and the matter will be reviewed thoroughly. This is the tweet right here, hinting at potential legal action for Myles Garrett based on what he did last night.
Appreciate the update. Thank you so much. Ian, sorry we're not talking about something a little more optimistic this morning. Appreciate you, and we'll talk to you in a bit. Hated to see this. It's hard for me to see that there's different ways of thinking about this on Twitter. There's people defending certain people in certain parties. It seemed pretty cut and dry at the end of that game. We know there was just weirdness throughout the whole game, right? This is a rivalry. This is a game. Brett Kiesel told me last night on Amazon Prime that this is the one game that they bust to. It's very close quarters. They all are in each other's faces. It's real, and it always has been. You had 2 players leave. Deontay and Juju both get knocked out of this one. So all of that sort of led up to this. But what did you see went down in those minutes? And include Maurkice Pouncey, who's probably also going to face some discipline.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any defending either side. It's a fight that breaks out in a football game. This isn't hockey where we get clearance to beat each other up if we're feeling some type of way. I get that it's a rivalry. I get that emotions run high. I understand personally and seen it in games and at practice, guys can literally black out, lose their cool, and afterwards look at themselves like, oh, my bad, I didn't even know that happened. I'll give you a personal story. Early in my career, playing for the Vikings, we're playing against the Bears at home, a chippy game, right? It's the Vikings versus the Bears. A late hit comes. I jump in. I'm pushing and shoving. I get a fine in my locker the next day, and I'm like, well, I didn't think it was that bad. I go watch the film, and I'm swinging at guys' helmets. You guys know me. I'm more of a lover than I am a fighter. And I remember sitting there in that meeting room thinking to myself, I don't even remember doing that. This is not me making an excuse for Myles Garrett. I think people misunderstood my words early in the show. I'm not defending him. I'm not defending any fight in football. I don't laugh at it. I don't think it's cool. I think it's the dumbest thing ever to wrap your fist up and swing at another man's helmet, which means you can break your hand or take somebody's helmet off and attempt to swing it at another man's head. It's all wrong. But I do feel like this could have ended early. Myles Garrett could have dropped the helmet. Somebody could have grabbed him. A big man could have grabbed him and said, bro, you tripping? And I feel like Mason Rudolph, if you get your helmet snatched off, you're a quarterback. 1, protect yourself because you're a QB. 2, your helmet's off. Get out of there.
Could have also ended differently if he connects with Mason Rudolph, we're not having Jerry O'Connell on the show in 10 minutes.
No, I got to cancel that.
You got to cancel that.
Yeah.
So I look at this and say, you say it happens, and say, like, Nate, respectfully, I've been on the sidelines. I've never seen that, though. Like, take another man's helmet. So the outrage and the disgust, it's not just from Twitter. It's not just, you could hear it in the Browns guys talking. Like, Freddie, I'm talking about Freddie. I'm talking about Baker. Baker comes out in an interview, and kudos to Baker and the Browns PR staff for letting Baker speak to Aaron Andrews minutes after this without a filtered, here's what our message is going to be. Baker says it's inexcusable. He's going to be suspended, and that's that. So I think even the Browns guys are disappointed here. What I said earlier in the show, I'll reiterate. You can't change what happened last night. And fortunately, God willing, thank you that he didn't connect with that helmet. But what he can do, Myles Garrett, is be very forthcoming, be very vocal, stand up to the media, stand up to the cameras, and stand up to America and say, that's not me, and I'm going to do everything in my power to ensure the youths watching this game never do anything like that, and I will never do that again. I think there's a great opportunity for redemption already just hours after that play.
The reason I said you might be surprised by what Baker said is there was no apologist in him. There was no, you got caught up in the moment. And what I read on Baker's face was just huge disappointment. Not only because it ruined a great night, they probably just lost their best player on their team as they're trying to make a wild card run. And I think Baker knew that. I will say I think it's very fascinating, the third man in factor, which is the Maurkice Pouncey. And if you saw the play after it went down and Garrett goes down, Pouncey just comes and starts throwing punches and kicks.
Right.
He's going to get suspended, and he should, because you just can't have guys kicking people. But I have no problem whatsoever with Maurkice Pouncey did.
Guess what? He doesn't either. After the game, he said that he doesn't care if he'll get suspended. He went into protection mode. He said that, quote, it was bigger than football at that moment. My man got hit in the head with a helmet. He said, I know it's coming. I went into protection mode over my guy. I don't see many Browns out there in this shot right here.
And it's not that he needed it, but, like, I think Maurkice Pouncey got huge respect in the Steelers' locker room after that thing. Listen, you attack the quarterback in a very physical, violent way, you got to stand up for him. Now, sure, he went over the line, but like, I'm not going to sit here and say, how could you possibly do that? 100%. I understand the gladiator mentality, what happened to his quarterback, and he went after him. I can't sit here and say Maurkice Pouncey shouldn't have done it. I can't.
I agree 100%. And I feel like the peers in the NFL, players, are looking at Pouncey, understanding exactly what he did.
What do you say that he should have shown more composure?
Yeah.
Should he have shown more composure? Like, Pouncey.
No,
because Garrett didn't, and neither did Pouncey. No, I think that one comes before the other.
No, I didn't say that Pouncey should show more composure.
I know.
Oh, no, you're asking me. No, listen, I've been a guy that has jumped in and fought for my quarterback. I hate to be the individual that says this happens. And I know, Schrags, you said you've been on the sideline. You haven't seen it happen.
Yeah, I haven't.
I've been in practices and seen this happen time and time again. And I've been the young, frisky wide receiver saying, what, you hit my quarterback? I'm going to fight for you. And I throw myself right in the mix of it. I understand what Pouncey did.
Okay.
I am not and will not defend what Myles Garrett did. I feel like there's no place in the game for anything. Pushing and shoving, talking trash, cool. The moment you ball your fist up in a football game, it's an idiotic move from there. Nothing good can happen.
You've ever seen this, though?
How about on the street?
Yes, Strager, unfortunately, I've
seen the helmet used as a weapon?
I've seen the helmet used, unfortunately.
And connect?
And miss.
Right.
And the first thing we do as vets on the team is, you're out of your mind. What are you doing? And even when a fight goes at practice, just like Pouncey, Pouncey's trying to defend his quarterback. But what if Pouncey connects and breaks his hand? Now that's another guy injured for that team. I just look at it as all bad.
None of it warranted, no matter what happened on the field leading up to all of that. More on this, of course, the repercussions, the consequences right here on NFL Network all day long. And up next, let's preview the slate for Sunday.
Why don't we?
11 is underway. Kirk Cousins, can he keep his hot streak going and prove the Vikings are the real deal?
You like that. He tried to patent that. Didn't get it.
He didn't get it?
No.
What do you mean?
I think it was turned down under something. I don't know.
And the Chiefs, do you think he'd be able to buy that?
I
It's
would
a
think.
small island somewhere.